Begin with, we have this concept of the people from other planets as little green men. Are they green from what you know? Are they all the same?
Unfortunately, they're not so benevolent.
A fucking alien.
What's good? Welcome to 51 here with your host Jimmy. Another day in the jungle. Give us a like, subscribe, and also become part of our community here in goldenboxing.com for more news and stories. All right, so let's get to this video. All right, so as we all know, this Saturday we're gonna have a really good fight between Lomachenko and Devin Haney. This is not necessarily the fight that I wanted to see because I believe that I honestly want to see Gervonta Davis versus Devin Haney. I have my reasons want to see that fight, but one of the reasons why I now want to see this fight is because I can actually stand Lomachenko fans. Just being honest. For a long time, I know that Lomachenko is a good fighter. I have no problems with it. But this is a case where media, just pundits, experts have put Lomachenko in a sort of standard and say that this guy is the best thing ever since Muhammad Ali, which is crazy to me. There's been a lot of good fighters since Muhammad Ali, and I would not consider Lomachenko to be one of those great fighters. I think he's a great technician. I think he's really good. I think he's a boxer, in my opinion, very similar. He has a similar style to Manny Pacquiao. And Manny Pacquiao has Jack the Rabbit style, which he likes to move in, move out, kind of like Dimitri Bivol has that style too. So I consider him like that. I consider him like an Alexander Vesputin. If you haven't seen, he's a welterweight. He got suspended after fighting with this other Russian boxer, but he had a similar style like that. So I think he has a good style of boxing. But I believe the media world has really just blown up this guy out of proportion. And I think his time is come up now. Now, when we examine David Haney's records, there's been a lot of fighters like Gervonta Davis, Ryan Garcia, Teofimo Lopez, and even Lomachenko, who asked for the designation title to the franchise title to avoid Devin Haney. And Devin Haney, for some reason or another, is this hated guy. And I still don't quite understand why. I don't get it, because he could have just left the division, right? And see, this is what I'm talking about, fans. He could have just left the division. He could have said, well, fuck you. Or he could have just said no to Lomachenko. He could have done that. He definitely could have done that. Or he could have maneuvered in a way like Fleming Wither Jr. did with Marquez, where he put some sort of rehydration clause or something to make sure that, the smaller fighter doesn't get it his way. He didn't do that. He stayed in the division. On top of that, he's giving Lomachenko an opportunity to be an undisputed champion. That opportunity that Lomachenko did not give him. Okay? Before he tried to get this franchise belt. That is Lomachenko. And a lot of his fans were saying, well, if Devin Haney leaves the division, now that Lomachenko wants him to fight, Devin Haney's ducking him. Oh, see, look, Devin Haney's going to leave the division. Well, Devin Haney stayed. So I want no excuses for this fight, because Devin Haney did stay in the division. And now all the Lomachenko fans are saying, well, Devin Haney's too big. Bro, Lomachenko, why is he staying in 135? Right? Why is he staying in 135? He's proven in 135 that he's actually beat fighters there. He beat Jorge Linares. Right? He beat Nakatani. He beat Richard Comey. He beat Luke Campbell. He's beat all these different fighters in this division, right? And he's stayed in 135, if I'm not mistaken, since 2017. So I don't understand. Like, this guy is proven, right? He's proven himself in 135. It wasn't like when Kell Brook jumped two weight classes against Gennady Golovkin, or it wasn't like when Mikey went up one weight class or two weight classes against Errol Spence. Even when Guillermo Rigondeaux went up against Vasily Lomachenko, I gave Vasily Lomachenko all the credit. Because at the end of the day, Vasily Lomachenko, he won. And that's what it is. Guillermo Rigondeaux is a really good technician. He was a really good technician. He's a little older now, but he did what he had to do. And Vasily Lomachenko beat him, made him quit. There was no excuse for that. So there's no excuse if Devin Haney beats Vasily Lomachenko, especially because Lomachenko, unlike the other ones I mentioned, he stayed in that weight class for a long time, proving himself there. Now, people or Vasily Lomachenko fans will tell you that the best fight or the best fighter that Vasily Lomachenko beat was probably Jorge Linares. Well, Jorge Linares, to me, if I'm not mistaken, during his time, well, at least when he was fighting, he lost against a dude called Thompson and some other guy. He had two losses via TKO before he actually fought. I forgot their names, but I'll remember them. But I remember he lost against two fighters prior to coming in with Vasily Lomachenko, and both losses were via TKO. So it wasn't like Jorge Linares was this virgin. He lost already 2 times, and that's supposedly one of the best fights that Vasily Lomachenko had. But Jorge Linares never really fought American fighters, especially Black American fighters or technicians like we have now. So Vasily Lomachenko had some sort of leverage in 135 before because it was less competitive. Let's just be honest. It was not as competitive as it is now. So you could say that Vasily Lomachenko was avoided by Gervonta Davis. There's no questions about this. Gervonta Davis completely ducked him at 130. If you are defending that, you are an idiot, or you don't know what you're talking about, or just that's just facts. We know that fighters like Leo Santa Cruz didn't want to fight him either. Okay, so Vasily Lomachenko was avoided as well, but Devin Haney is also being avoided, and nobody wants to talk about that. But whatever it is, this fight, there's no excuses if Vasily Lomachenko loses this fight. I don't want to hear no excuses, okay? And the way that I see the fight going, Vasily Lomachenko struggled with Jermaine Ortiz. Now the excuse is, well, he was just coming out of war, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's true. But Jermaine Ortiz, doesn't have the pedigree or the caliber like Vasily Lomachenko, if we're just going by records. So even if Vasily Lomachenko came from a war, he didn't come from a war. Jermaine Ortiz beat Jamal Herring. And after that, he had another fight where he did good too. Forgot what the name of the boxer was. He did pretty well. I could have been Jamal Herring. But whatever it is, Jermaine Ortiz, in that fight with Vasily Lomachenko, I thought he won. But they gave it to Vasily Lomachenko. Where were the Vasily Lomachenko fans talking about, a robbery, which I don't believe it was a robbery. I still believe that Jermaine Ortiz won the fight, but it was a close fight. And close fights are not robberies. But I don't see any Vasily Lomachenko fans saying or claiming for Jermaine Ortiz how he actually could have won that fight. I don't see any Vasily Lomachenko fans asking for a rematch for that fight, right? So in this fight against Devin Haney, if this were to be a close decision, let's say it happens to be a close, I doubt it, and Devin Haney wins, I don't want no excuses. Because those Vasily Lomachenko fans are not speaking for that fight with Jermaine Ortiz because they're Vasily Lomachenko fans. So you have to protect your fighter at all costs. You don't care about boxing. You care about your boxer, Vasily Lomachenko. Okay, gotcha. In this fight, I think that Devin Haney is going to be fighting backwards. He's going to use his bicycle. And he's never going to allow Vasyl Lomachenko to cut his distance, because Vasyl Lomachenko likes to jump around the ring, try to cut you so he can get ahead of you, and then when he's a short distance, lowers combinations. He wants to keep you he wants you to stop for a second as he's moving forward, because he moves fast and tries to connect all the punches that he has. And that's going to be a strategy. But Devin Haney has a long reach. He has a good jab. And he's going to be waiting with second hands anytime Vasyl Lomachenko dares to come in. And then on top of that, if things get bad for Devin Haney, he's going to clinch Vasyl Lomachenko, and he's not going to let him get inside. So I expect from Devin Haney to be using his bicycle. I expect him to use his jab. And I expect him, to throw economical punches. He's not going to go like Jermaine Ortiz. He's not going to fight like Teofimo Lopez. I believe Devin Haney's a much smarter fighter than either one. Okay? And I like Jermaine Ortiz, but I think personally that Devin Haney's a smarter fighter than either of those two fighters. And the American style of fighting is going to be a problem for Vasyl Lomachenko, because Vasyl Lomachenko has had problems with American boxers. That Jermaine Ortiz fight was a close one. I thought Jermaine Ortiz won it. That Teofimo Lopez fight, it was also a close fight, but Teofimo won it. And then when he fought Gary Russell Jr., that was technically the best fight he had against an American, but he was in his natural weight class. Which, brings me to the next point. Vasyl Lomachenko shouldn't be fighting, like I said before. I think I said it in Spanish, but he shouldn't be fighting in 135. If you're saying he's too big, why is he in 135? He should be in 130. He should be campaigning in 130, 126. This is like common sense. If I'm too big for a division, why am I there? If this is the excuse, why are you there? But he's staying. He stood in that division for at least 5 years already. So if Devin Haney beats Vasyl Lomachenko, he beat him because he's more skillful. That's just what it is. On top of that, another interesting point is that I think that Vasyl Lomachenko is a fighter who can indeed beat certain styles of boxing, and I think he would have a better chance against Gervonta Davis than he would against Devin Haney. I don't think Vasyl Lomachenko is a bad fighter. I think he's a good fighter. I think there's a reason why Gervonta Davis avoided him. But the style that Devin Haney possesses, Shakur Stevenson or Devin Haney, I think it's just not gonna be good for Vasyl Lomachenko. I'm gonna put it that way. Devin Haney's got stronger. He is a much bigger fighter, and he is a smart fighter. He's not just a stupid fighter. He's a smart fighter. They call him pillow hands or whatever. But I'm gonna tell you right now, they also said the same thing about Floyd Mayweather Jr. when he fought Manny Pacquiao, and Floyd Mayweather Jr. with pillow fist beat Manny Pacquiao, who had brick fist. And in my opinion, Manny Pacquiao, at the same age of Vasyl Lomachenko, was a much more dangerous opponent than Vasyl Lomachenko because he had power. Okay? And Floyd Mayweather Jr. was an older fighter using that same skill set, was able to beat Manny Pacquiao. Now, people say, well, Devin Haney doesn't fight like Floyd Mayweather Jr. Well, depends what we're talking about. Because Floyd Mayweather Jr., when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, yes, he didn't fight like Vasyl Lomachenko. Like Devin Haney. But when he got older, Floyd Mayweather Jr., his legs were more shot. So he also didn't move like when he was a younger Floyd Mayweather Jr. So Devin Haney has better leg movement than Floyd Mayweather Jr. did at a much older age. So I don't think that's going to be a problem I don't think it's going to be a problem for Devin Haney to beat Vasyl Lomachenko. Now, let's put it this way. If Vasyl Lomachenko were to beat Devin Haney, I give all credit to Vasyl Lomachenko, and he's an undisputed champion. He's a legit undisputed champion. And he deserves all the credit. I have to praise him. If he loses against Devin Haney, then I expect the same thing from Devin Haney because he's giving him the opportunity and he beat it on skills. Just the same way that Vasyl Lomachenko beat Guillermo Rigondeaux on skills, Devin Haney beat Vasyl Lomachenko on skills as well. Okay? That's what I expect if you're a real boxing fan. And I believe this fight will be a 60-40. I think Devin Haney's going to beat him. But I know that Vasyl Lomachenko can be a dangerous opponent. But we'll see. We're going to find out Saturday. But I want no excuses from Vasyl Lomachenko fans because you're a loser. You're a loser, a complete fucking loser, if you're excusing Vasyl Lomachenko because he's too big. Especially now that people are saying that Jorge Linares was a much more dangerous opponent than Devin Haney and blah, 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 blah. Okay. All right. Vasyl Lomachenko is the best thing since Muhammad Ali, said Bob Arum. Okay. Jorge Linares, and that's another thing. See, this is another thing. This is why I don't like excuses. Vasyl Lomachenko had an amazing amateur career. I get it. He did. But compared with who? For today's standards, okay, if we look at the people in the old school, well, let's say, for example, Kid Chocolate, the Cuban, he had like more than 2,000 amateur fights. They say actually he had like 4,000 amateur fights. So who are we comparing? What is this great amateur record? There are many people for the 60s, many great boxers who had a better amateur career with a lot more fights. So Vasyl Lomachenko started older to become a pro. He could have done what Devin Haney did and fight at a younger level. That's Vasyl Lomachenko's fault. He could have started at 17 fighting as a pro. Devin Haney doesn't have this great amateur record like Vasyl Lomachenko, but Devin Haney does. Vasyl Lomachenko does. So at the end of the day, like Vasyl Lomachenko, if Vasyl Lomachenko didn't start as a pro earlier in his career, it's not anybody's fault that he only has like 16 or whatever, 15 or 17 fights that he has. That's a low number. That's a very low number. He could have started earlier. So if he didn't want to do that, he continued to be an amateur, which I know a lot of fighters who are amateurs, to the age of 30, who just, they don't want to. I know amateurs from different countries that, become like they just want to be amateurs for a long time, and then suddenly want to jump to pro. Okay, but that's Vasyl Lomachenko's fault. He could have started earlier, and I think that would have probably helped his record. So there's no excuse for that. He had a chance to do that. What's the excuse? What excuse you can give him now? See, you always invent an excuse. You got to stop excusing. These people have their records, and they know exactly why they're doing what. Okay, you can't excuse that, and that's not Devin Haney's fault. That's Vasyl Lomachenko's fault that he started at an older age to become a pro. So that is what it is. I do believe Devin Haney's going to beat this. He's going to beat Vasyl Lomachenko, be a unanimous decision. That's what I think, and that's my prediction. So we'll see what happens Saturday. Give us a like, subscribe, and also become part of our community here in GoldenEyeBoxing.com for news and stories, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace out, and to the next. Deuces.